Hello, hello, it's Dr. O. Getting personal up close and edutaining all at once in the second sort of entry in this chronicling that I'm doing on Medicare. Ooh, as I prepare to leave the USA and compare what I've already experienced outside of this country with what I am have been offered and what I am receiving right now as I go forward with a minor surgery, a minor elective, but needed. As I age, it's always better to do it sooner rather than later because the older I get, the more I will be aware of anything, especially abdominal surgery, gets dangerous when you're 70 plus years old, which is what I will be in 2027. So, with that as my starting point, I scheduled and got everything that I needed for repair of this abdominal. Hi there. Good to see you. It's been a while. I am really excited to be back, Jack, and I am reporting. What is her name? Katie Couric style, where she had the whole United States kind of going on a colonoscopy through her own intestines with her. Well, we're not doing that, but I am really excited to be looking at what the system offered me. Oof, and it's complicated for managed care. So we started with my first essay, and I asked people who are going to be here to make sure you access the YouTube piece that I did. It's only 20 seconds long, but it has some images that are worth having. And I'm not trying to do a PowerPoint presentation or anything like that. I'm just trying to be a storyteller about my adventures. Oh my goodness. So let's just start with the fact that I just found out today as I reviewed my chart. I get to look at what they have said about me in my chart. I've been misgendered. You ready for that one? I am described, as I looked at what they have on a profile, as what would befit a trans feminine person. And I thought about it for a minute, and I got really excited about tracking it in the language of the dominator, white supremacy, patriarchal culture. Three ways. One way is that AI is misgendering. No, AI is misgendering Black people assigned female at birth regularly. They look at our faces and it looks too masculine for them. That would be one thing that could have happened. Number two is I have a name, Opeyemi, that is used by men and women as a first name in Yoruba culture and language. Number three, and this kind of is my favorite, the department that I have been affiliated with over at, I'm going to name names, Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center, where I will be going on Tuesday, August 11th, to have minor, minimally invasive laparoscopic repair of a hernia the size of a golf ball, about that big. The quoted price that I saw for this, we'll get to that. Let's stick with the gendered piece. Okay, so I'm listed as legally male and biologically female. Is that what they said? Yeah, I think that's what they said. Anyway, I talked to somebody in the system who at first, they get very officious, like, what are you talking about? And I do have crazy things come up. So I'm talking about something that's really crazy. It's crazy to be listed as legally male. Where the hell did that come from? But it's in my record, and it was in my record in a way that, although I was offered an editing possibility, I could not edit it. Okay, myself. I had to go to the managed care system and get someone in that managed care system to edit my patient profile so I was gendered correctly. I'm going for surgery. These kinds of things matter to me. Okay, so three reasons for me not to feel terribly seen and noticed as an individual in a broken managed care system. That's how we're approaching this. Number one. Who else do I have here? Oh, thank you so much for joining. At this point, I am just at the beginning of describing the chronicles of me, a 70th year on the planet, 69-year-old, scheduling and getting through a managed care system for minor surgery. I just said the first issue that was hot on the off the presses was I got misgendered in the computer record on my patient profile. Got that fixed. Couldn't fix it myself. Had to have it fixed by the managed care people. These are red flags, folks. Okay. If you read my essay, you know that I have the most flexible of the plans for Medicare. It's called traditional Medicare. I'm not going to go into explaining what that is, other than to say it allows me to go to any doctor in the United States who takes Medicare. There's no in between University of Vermont or Dartmouth Hitchcock between me and the doctor. That meant that when they were messing around back in February and March with trying to figure out whether I actually had this hernia or not, because the CAT scan had been incorrectly read. I mean, it gets very ugly very fast. All right. And this is minor. This is minor surgery I'm talking about. Okay, way back in the day when it was all kind of befuddled and mixed up, I just tiptoed around them. And because I had traditional Medicare, I could schedule directly with the surgeon who will be doing my surgery. And it's a teaching hospital, so I know it may be her. I know exactly what is possible on it. May be her, it may be her fellow. If it's a medical student in the room, they'll be watching. And I said, no, none of the drug reps who sold you all this fancy equipment can be in the room with me while I am under the knife and unconscious. Not going to happen. So I said no to that and had them cross out that option. Yeah, your PET scan was also incorrectly read. Wow, and greatly to your detriment when we found out. I have to say, I don't even know what to tell people if you're dealing with a system where, in this case, they would not take my word for my body. I said, well, I have a pooching out thing here that's golf ball size. I'm pretty sure that's a hernia and that's not a normal abdominal wall. I had to go through 3 months of crazy bureaucracy to get that reread, and then somebody from that system is supposed to be talking to me about what my next steps could be. But I've already scheduled the surgery. Okay, so my next steps are that I'll see you all after post op in September. And I remind you all that I intend to be out of this collapsing system up close and personal in October. I wanted to get this done with enough time for recuperation under my belt, not to be healed. I recognize that anytime, this is an intense thing to say, but I remind us, anytime you have had an incision in your skin for something like surgery, you should expect 6 months for recovering that skin and getting back to normal. And this is very different. It's supposed to be like a little tiny opening where they'll blow my belly up with carbon dioxide or some gas. All right, so some gas so that they can see what they're doing and make this repair. All right, so that's the technical piece of what I'm having done. I am modeling self care because already I've had to correct several problems like my gender issues and the fact that it was not a normal abdominal wall. And when I asked, do I get to meet my anesthesiologist, people looked at me like I had started to speak Russian when I had been speaking English. So clearly, the system has, in my opinion, deteriorated enough so that even the idea of what I did the last serious time I went under anesthesia, which was when I had my tubes tied back in the late 1990s, okay, was I got to choose the entire team. In fact, I demanded a team of women. I didn't want any males in my space, not anesthesia, not students, when I was having my tubes tied. And that was how paranoid I was, appropriately, from what I had seen in medicine, that I did not want to take chances when I was technically out of the room. What I have surrendered to, and this is the spiritual part, and I really love this part, is some of those images in the YouTube that I sent are so powerful for me right now. Symbolically, the place of rupture in my abdominal wall is absolutely rationally reasonable. I've had those muscles ripped apart. Yeah, it felt like that. It looked like that when I was seeing it done to other women. And they just kind of are supposed to come back together when you've had a big pregnancy there and you have a cesarean delivery. And I also had a small incision for my tubes being tied. Consequently, that's three outside surgical incision things happening to my belly. And now, as a 70 years on the planet, I got a rupture right at the middle. Kind of makes sense, right? And it's also my solar plexus. It's my power chakra in a seven system chakra system. If you want to do any of that cool stuff, I'll try to put a link to one of my favorite. It's called the Illustrated Chakras. And it's available on places like YouTube. And it's like 20, 30 minutes of watching. I know that's hard for a lot of people these days, but it's worth it. And I see a rupture at my power chakra that I am getting help with surgical repair to fix. That's how I'm spinning this, to make sure that every little bit of pain, discomfort, or could be seen as problematic drama has an opportunity to be pulled forward into actually good storytelling. And I do mean this not in a performative way, like actually taking in, wow, my body's going to be opened up right here in the middle over my power chakra. Let's make sure it gets closed up with twice as much magical boundary. I always see myself with that Wonder Woman kind of a gold diadem of a girdle across my belly there. So to strengthen that imagery with anything that comes before, during, or after my pre op for this, again, tiny, whiny little surgery. Now comes the difficult part. I looked at the estimated copay that I would have to pay, and it's $1,400. And I backed up a step and said, wait a minute, I thought I had a plan where I had to pay $287 each year, and then Medicare would take over. And they said, yes, that's true, but we only take over 80%. So 80% of whatever is happening for me was priced out at this 1,400 horrible, unexpected dollars. Because I am spiritually connected, I had guardian angels step in, and I managed, will manage, trans managed. I was able to get a healthcare Medigap plan that I can keep month by month, that is $287 a month. But it starts August 1st. My surgery is August 11th. It is technically supposed to be covering that 1400. Now, while I figure that out in the 2 or 3 days before my actual surgery, which is criminal that any human should be even at all concerned about the financial stuff, as you, I want to try to relax and just get ready for a major trauma on my body, because I mean, cutting is a trauma. That's just how it is. Shifting consciousness is another trauma to the body, right? As I get ready for that, I don't want to be thinking about finances. But when I saw that the number that is estimated for how much this is being billed out as costing was going to be between $52,000 and $63,000, I said, this is not sounding right, okay? And I printed all that out, and I am moving right along, but I do not intend to be a detective on my own case before I go under the knife. I'll pick this up afterwards. You all can rally me on. But even the I use Perplexity as far as the lowest CO2 footprint and the most bang for my buck, which is I don't have to pay right now. And yes, that is an advertisement, but it is courtesy of a 12-year-old that I know who helped me see the best AI that I could use when I wanted to do deeper resource checking. Perplexity says that this should cost 15,000. Okay. That's still ridiculous to me, but those other numbers, somebody is going to be talking sometime soon, but I am going to be recuperating. So, as I get prepared to go and also think about recuperating, I'm open to questions. Yeah, and you said, Phoebe, you need a Medigap plan to cover the 20%. That's exactly what I got. And it's scary because it's United Healthcare. The care system that was so awful that people cheered when that young man gunned down the CEO. All right, so that does not inspire a lot of faith in the system. And yet I rise because I don't want any responsibility for any of it when I feel like I'm already paying through the nose for services I do not use. So when I leave, I won't be paying anything, which is a whole other story. You know, most Americans leave and they accept if they're going to travel foreign health travel insurance. I'm not doing any of that. And I'll explain why in future videos. Yep, 80%. Medicare for all should be 100%. And again, our life is so far away from good medical practice. I'll add one more thing that I found while I was traveling. And I just got back from a very exhausting but informative adventure. One thing I know about myself now is I don't ever want to be connected to the dominator culture the way I was 20 years ago. I have walked away from that. I appreciate seeing what two whole generations below me are doing in medicine. I appreciate them so much. I appreciate where the women are moving forward. I do not want to be a part of any of that. I want to be retired with the skills that are in my hands and in my head and in my heart. And that has a lot to do with midwifery, being with women at the end of life, at the beginning of life, helping begin life, helping end life at the beginning. All of those combinations are in my heart. So I am very excited to be moving forward, modeling. First, I get my power back. Any rupture in power that has come, I am symbolically going to be reclaiming through the surgery. Yes, I have to take the luck of the draw for the anesthesiologist. I've looked at all the different ones, and it's very interesting. There's only one person with assigned male at birth uh, who is brown at all, and that person is Turkish. There are many, many women in this field, and they range from MDs and MD slash MPHs all the way through into nursing. And there's a lot of nurse anesthesiologists who are female. I would say out loud right now, I would rather have a female anyone than a male anyone, including that lovely Turkish man, who I was saying if I could get him, I'd be happy. But any of the rest of the males, no. You know why? Because I should not have to even stress over the idea that somebody working with my body when I am in an altered state voted for Trump. I should not even have to have that thought cross my mind. And although it may niggle a little bit here at my third eye for the women, I'm much more confident that they probably didn't, looking at some of them, looking for an open heart. And I will leave that now up to spirit. I did the best I could to meet and know more about the person whose hands I was putting my vitality in. My vital signs are followed by the anesthesiologist. The surgeon is doing the surgery, right? Back in my day, I would have wanted to meet them ahead of time. This they call meeting, which is I'll be like on an assembly line ready to go, and they'll come by the room. I hope to establish a connection to at least make sure that in my heart and in the etheric records up above us, we have a sacred contract because they are my guide. I'll be going into an altered state of consciousness. I usually like a guide when I'm doing that kind of work. And I've done a lot of it since age 35, but not before age 35. So, you youngins out there, you take your chances, but some of that magic stuff is for older folk. It really is. Uh, that's a whole other story there. And Phoebe says, "You will miss me. I understand, but everybody can come and visit." And I am not kidding. And I do intend to intensify my Zooming presence while we have this technology. I'll be having a weekly conversation. It will be behind a paywall because I need some money, honey. It won't be a big paywall, but it will be in September. I'll be starting that on a more serious basis by the equinox. I love doing things by seasonal calendars. And when I do that, it'll be a place to just have conversations, show and tell. And a lot of the show and tell has to do with really looking at our health through a mind, body, spirit lens. There's more to our health than our physical bodies. And some of the things that I'm finding out about me are in those slides. Check out the chakra slide that has a look at the solar plexus and what is reflected in the solar plexus, what one is working on. You saw that I have in one deck of divination cards a breakthrough card that's also coming straight out of the solar plexus, right? And right by it, the green Tara, which is centering and calm. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited in a healthy, balanced way, and I am also very sad about the state of healthcare being such a scam. I am likely to find a lot of padding in whatever they put together for a package to offer my Medicare uh, person. And the Medigap is still with a company with a very bad reputation, as I said. And it's just hard to be sort of at the mercy of this level of strange days. But yet I rise. And I do realize that I cannot stay here in these awful, increasingly parochial where I am, yes, very judgy words, you untying states. It's dangerous to me as a woman more than anything else. So it's dangerous to all of you out there assigned female at birth too. You're underestimating, in my opinion, your risk for harm these days. Have an escape plan and maybe a few magical charms that you wear on your body for some mojo. And I do mean this. Times are getting very strange. And I don't like dark and light imagery. I like deepening and sort of fear mongering. Like there's deepening of self, and that's what I hope to be finding in my explorations over the next couple of weeks. And the next step will likely be sharing how I have my little girl in me going with me to surgery and where I had to pick her up from, and what damage had been done to her. Again, let's just look at the medical establishment. I think many of you can meditate on what harm has been done to you for your own good through the medical establishment. We can just start with what a shot feels like, not whether it's a vaccination that you needed or not, what it felt like as a child to get a shot. Okay, I think I'm going to end there for the people who are live. I hope to have a lively conversation when I put this over on YouTube and in the coming days, because I'm only 4 days away. And again, I'm going to try to stay present, but we're not doing the Katie Couric. You're not going into surgery with me, guys, but you may see me before and after. Who knows? Enough for now.